Good evening and welcome back to the treetops of Keskalokil, my dwarven fortress by the sea, which now appears to have about half of a roller coaster, to be fair. Probably less given the increasing ambition that it's experienced.
Treetops of Keskalokil, PP the elf.
Hey, there's still quite a lot of them. Like, just there are fewer willows and alders and maples than there used to be. There's quite a lot of trees there.
Not enough to suit an elf.
But yes, I suspect the elves may not be entirely happy when they come back. Because, we have been cutting down the trees to build a roller coaster. We could, yes. We'd probably have to put them in a cage first. They might not like that either. It's not much of a roller coaster. For now, we start. Where do we? I can't remember. Oh yes. This bit is now out of service because I decided to start the roller coaster going eastwards instead. So it starts from here and then runs all the way down and underground and then back up again. And then it turns out that the minecarts leap into the air when they reach this point. So I think one thing we need to do is to do something to stop them. And I think my plan is to do that by continuing to go upwards. So essentially putting another hump there that will carry them, that will keep tracks underneath the minecart and then have it drop back down again onto the roof of the apiary and then down again to ground level on this side. So that's the kind of plan. I assume that those all look perfectly normal. That, damn it, oh yes, the minecart is currently running. Let's check. I.e. that someone will pick it up from where it's fallen down over here and put it back where it started. And then I should count how many Z levels it goes up when it takes off. And then we can build that much extra ramp in order to absorb its kinetic energy, which I think should help. So a dwarf has turned up and picked it up. Oh, there is the slight problem that it's got a goblin cage in it, hasn't it? It's going to take a little while to haul that back. I should possibly, maybe I should just assign a different minecart to the task, because that one's going to take a long time to haul back. Yeah, let's just assign a different minecart to that route. So there's a triple equals sandpear wood or a star maple. Let's check which one of those is unique. We've got too many triple equals sandpear woods. I think we do only have one star maple star minecart, so let's assign that one. Will that then cause this dwarf to stop carrying that, or will they keep carrying it? For now they're keeping carrying it. Well, that's probably for the best.
If it's slightly bizarre and inexplicable, of course they're doing it.
But there's also a task to shift the maple minecart, so that's good. So meanwhile, I had an idea, and the idea was, if this track ends up remotely long, then we're going to want, well, it'd be useful to be able to run more than one minecart on it. But we know that if you try to do a kind of multiple minecarts by just setting them all onto the same route, then they tend to collide. And so I was wondering about the possibility of doing like a proper signalling system. And I think it's possible. Here comes someone carrying that minecart. Let's watch the minecart. Yes, it's a wooden one. It's fairly light.
Also, dwarves are very strong.
Often, yes. As far as I know, there's no actual limit how heavy a thing they can carry. They just get slower and slower.
This is Zeno's paradox only for dwarves carrying.
You seem to be confused about how you're going to get this up to the start. I think a dwarf got in the way, right? And so I think so one tricky bit is how do you have a signal that stops a minecart in a way that doesn't stop it? Because if the minecart actually becomes stationary, then any dwarf riding on it is going to get off, which would be unfortunate. And the other thing is, how do you detect the location of minecarts and change the signals accordingly?
Please note, earlier in the week I did I was the cardboard programmer to which this was explained.
Yes.
So,
I may possibly have, yes, explained this quite a lot to Verity. So the idea is, now we can't glue the dwarves to the minecarts. So the idea is that I think you can make you can have a minecart stop without stopping by having it oscillate back and forth between two rollers pointing in opposite directions. And then you could use you could have something that then, a gear assembly that then turns off the backwards roller and allows the minecart to depart forwards. And that way the minecart never actually stops, so no dwarf will get off it or think that it's broken down and go and try to collect it or anything. But it will more or less stay in the same place while it can't proceed. And then I think you can use pressure plates to detect when a minecart has gone past a point, and then you just need something to store whether because that's essentially like an axle counter. You need something to remember that the minecart is in a section. So you need some kind of data storage. But we only need to be able to count to 1, which is quite an easy number to count to.
We did have discussion about effectively trying to use fluid links for this in the tradition of the mercury delay lines used by very early electronic computers.
But we don't need to count things up higher than 1, so I think we can do it quite easily with... I think we do use liquids for it, but I think we just use a fairly simple liquid SR flip-flop.
Yeah, we don't need like a 1 megahertz clock cycle.
Indeed, I think the timing is going to be the problem here. We can't. It will probably be a bit slow. Anyway, but I don't think we can do continuous track circuiting, which would be the other way to tell whether a minecart is in a particular place. So if we do this, we need some way of storing information. But we can do that with like a bunch of tiny rooms connected by doors to a decent water supply. And it's not like we have a shortage of water supplies in this place. You can also use minecarts for data storage, but minecart data storage is considerably more space inefficient.
And there's a small problem that then in the UI you've got to try and distinguish between the minecarts that are being used for data storage and the minecarts that are being used for whatever it's
For actually moving things, or at least dwarves. Anyway, so that's my kind of plan. Here we have, meanwhile, a minecart which has, which I can't now select because it's not quite on the surface. So when I click on it, nothing happens.
We should make sure that some of the people who aren't with us tonight catch up on this one.
So that's kind of amusing. So we're going to have to keep some careful track. So it's now 1 Z level up. 2 Z levels up. So it peaks at 2 Z levels above its takeoff location. Right, well, let's let it carry on now. It descends, trundles along and crashes into that pillar. So that means that we want to go... that in order to use up all of its kinetic energy, we probably want this to be 2 Z levels higher. So let's start by removing... So we'll remove that section of track, and then that will be... So that will be a wall that takes us up to 1 Z level above. So then that on that square it will get up to 2 Z levels above. Then on that square it will drop back down to 1 Z level above. And then on the next square it will be back at this level, and so we need some track again. So I think that's the first thing we want to do, is to demolish that track so we can build another hump. Gestures humps. So meanwhile, I think we should experiment with bits of my my minecart signalling system. So if everything to the left here is now unwanted, maybe I should demolish it to get some wood. We'll have to demolish it starting at the top, of course. Well, I mean, kind of. Obviously, we can safely demolish things that don't have things built on top of them and that aren't ramps. That will give us a decent supply of wood, and we've got other wood, plenty here. So I think now I want to build a bit of track. Have we got any spare capacity in these windmills? Because those windmills have plenty of spare capacity. So we're going to need a power supply for this roller madness, and so we'll want a windmill to supply it at each signal. But maybe we can take advantage of an existing windmill for our the initial test system, which I think my initial plan is we'll have one signal, and it'll be controlled by a lever, and we'll check that it works. So we should thus build a small piece of circular track that passes a windmill, that passes... I had a plan for how I was going to do the gears. Yes, I think it needs to pass adjacent to the windmill. So let's go for like decently long bit of track to avoid too much confusion. Right, so there we have a circular track on which we will then start constructing interesting things. Oh, no, I want a gap between the tracks for some of the machinery. One moment, let's cancel that. Well, cancel some of that and then try again. Right. Right there, that will probably be better. Right. So that's going to need to be built, but we're also going to need some gear assemblies. So I think the full version of this is fairly complicated, because I think we want to have the ability to override any signal both to green and to red, because if we can't override it to red, then, well, we can't say stop the minecarts in the event of a disaster. And if we can't override it to green, then a dwarf might starve to death sitting on a minecart that's bouncing back and forth between two rollers. And both of those would be bad. So I think thus we need the logic to be something like, if either it's force overridden to green... Sorry, no, the reverse roller should be on if either the minecart is overridden, the signal is overridden to red, or it is the track ahead is clear and... Oh no, I can't, that's wrong as well. We want it... See, this is very complicated. We want it to be red, and hence driving backwards, if either the track segment ahead is occupied and it is not overridden to green, or it is overridden to red. Yes. Only took 3 attempts to get that one right.
And this is exactly the kind of thing that it's very easy to cock up in your programming sometimes.
Yes. Or signal engineering. I mean, real signals don't generally have an override to green. You instead instruct the driver to pass the signal at danger. But the problem is that here we don't really have a driver. So we do actually have to be able to override the signal to green. So let's build the whole thing, even though this is kind of silly for a... Well, actually, we'll build the whole thing, because we can. So I think what we need is one gear assembly that goes directly from the windmill to the roller, to the reverse rollers, and that's the override to red gear assembly. If that one's connected, then the rollers will be powered no matter what. And then we have a pair of rollers in series, which between them are, one of them's the override to green, as in it will shut off the reverse rollers if we operate the lever that does that, and one of them is the one that's actually controlled by the signalling system. And then we'll have a roller here and another roller here that's always driven, that's the forward roller. I'm planning, obviously we have left hand running, so the train will be running from left to right at this point. Actually, I'm not currently planning bi-directional tracks. Right now I think we have to wait for some of the track to be built so that we can start putting things on top of it. And meanwhile, there's a bunch of demolition going on here, and probably someone's going to fall through the floor at some point in an embarrassing fashion. See, yes, I realised that one of the problems I have with this fortress is because everyone's a doctor, they're all purple. And I'm used to being able to recognise dwarves by what colour they are. And go, oh, that's my legendary miner and such like. But everyone here's a surgeon or a legendary surgeon or whatever.
You should probably start constructing, I don't know, a mining guild hall or something if you want to ever,
So
anything.
we have an artifact bucket. Isn't that our second artifact bucket? Don't we already have an artifact bucket built into our well? We do. Sorry, we don't need more artifact buckets.
Maybe you can sell it.
I mean, I like the name. Nazom Ashzos, The Dreams of Distraction. The previous one was called The Big Leap. This is a willow bucket. All crafts dwarf ship is of the highest quality. It is decorated with pond grabber leather and encircled with bands of willow, pig iron, oval kaolinite cabochons and oval sandstone cabochons. The handle is made from gypsum. That'll work well. This object menaces with spikes of maple and jabbera leather. On the item is an image of Rofer Crabswallow, the elf, and a dog in willow. The dog is striking down Rofer Crabswallow. The artwork relates to the killing of the elf Rofer Crabswallow by a dog in the Sea of Mines in the early spring of 106 during Irafe Eduma, the Assault of Dangers. On the item is
Being a dog.
yes, is an image of a copperhead snake in gypsum. Well, the Sea of Mines. What's the Sea of Mines? Is that our?
I will also say that we know that dogs are quite dangerous from Tomb Raider.
Oh, the Sea of Mines is the sea off our coast. Oh, I think our square, we're officially in the Sea of Mines. I don't think an elf has died here while I wasn't paying attention.
Who's the Duke fighting?
A minecart.
States.
Okay, I think you may have lost a leg in the process.
How careless.
Or at least severely injured it. I think the problem is that he was in the way of the minecart when it was on a test run. Maybe we should turn off its test runs temporarily while there's track works going on.
Why do you still have some dwarves?
Shush. I think it is also empty, so let's just remove the condition so it never gets started. Right, so after all that blithering, we now have a gap here, so we can go build a wall there. Have I got that right? I'm not sure I have got that right. Well, we'll see. And then build a ramp next to it. Let's do it one step at a time. So meanwhile, we have taken down one level of the old thing, and we can also remove that. The old bits of the roller coaster. Right, so we now have 3 gear assemblies. So here is our rather injured dwarf Duke who got clouted with a minecart. His right lower leg is mangled beyond recognition, having been run down by a minecart. I wonder where the minecart went. Oh, it's got stuck down in the hole in the ground, probably because it ran into a Duke. Right, so then we want to build a roller that runs left at, I suppose it may as well run at minimum speed, make the dwarves slightly less seasick. There. I'm going to need some mechanisms.
How do you adjust the speed of a minecart?
You can set the speed of rollers, and those will... I can't remember if they will slow a minecart down. They generally accelerate it to a fixed speed if it's below their speed. I can't remember if they'll also slow it down to that speed. Certainly they can reverse it, stop it and reverse it if necessary, though sometimes you need a lot of rollers to do that. You can also, track stops will also slow a minecart down, and going round corners will slow a minecart down.
But possibly fatally in the first case and leading to some derailments in the second?
No, I think track stops... Well, so I think track stops are a safe way of slowing a minecart down, no matter how much deceleration they apply.
Okay, so
they're not buffer stops. They're like decelerating friction things.
Yeah, okay.
In particular, they may fail to stop a minecart if it's going too fast, and just slow it down. Corners, you might get a derailment, but if you build a wall in the right place, you won't get a derailment. And you can also use, there's a trick that the wiki shows of using the fact that minecarts will derail as a speed regulator by essentially constructing a loop that the minecart stays in as long as it's still derailing, and then arranging that it's ejected from the loop when it's finally capable of taking a corner properly. So you have it basically go around a loop, probably with a track stop in it, to slow it down until it reaches the point where it won't derail on a corner, and then it exits the loop.
Okay. I mean, it's nice that there are these kind of safety features. They're all kind of slightly weird and backwards, but this is very...
Well, you mean like my signal that stops a minecart by reversing it?
Something like that. I'll try not to think too hard about this.
So then we want another roller here that isn't adjacent to any of the gear assemblies, and that runs forwards. I did choose forwards for that one. I think I did. We'll find out soon enough. And that one may as well run at maximum speed because it's the one that's actually driving the minecart around the circuit. And then we'll need an axle to connect these 2 gears back to the windmill. And I think we can safely run that across the track. And we're going to need a load more mechanisms if we're going to do anything remotely like this. Which we should probably still be making out of stone. I mean, there might be some metal we have so much of we should be making them out of that instead. I'm not sure. Let's make 20 of them. Let's make 50 of them. If this is going to work, we're going to need a lot of mechanisms. As each signal, well, the signal as constructed so far consumes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mechanisms, and that's without the axle counter, which will need another one. Or the levers controlling it, which will need another 2. or the connections between those, which will need another 6, or the logic for storing whether or not anything has happened, which is where the minecart is, which will need even more.
What again?
No, I think he's just stood up, or maybe not. I don't know. Where is he? I don't think he's been run down again. I think it was merely that he's that when someone has got into a fight, you then start getting messages about them, in particular, standing up. Perversely. I think he became he regained consciousness and was no longer stunned.
But he's still going to need someone to take him down to the hospital.
Yes, indeed. Here he is, being brought home by Dusim hatch partnered. Who appears to be quite strong. Actually have anything that says quite strong here? Extremely agile anyway. You're trying to work out how to get to the... you're carrying him through the dining room. That may not have been wise. Right. The Duke of Shoot test has been deposited in the hospital, where he will be very well, if slightly over-enthusiastically cared for. Oh, and let's construct for safety, let's construct a track stop. Actually, we'll construct it on the opposite side of the loop, I think. Partly because I have another question about whether we can control departures from track stops. So this we'll have it dump things just in case we end up. We could in particular empty that minecart that's full of cruft. What does the king want us to make now? Oh, he's very annoyed that I haven't made any querns recently, and he wants some chains as well. Okay. I mean, at least chains are useful for constructing rollers, and someone wanted some picks, but we'll check on that in a moment. Oh, actually, we need the numbers anyway. Let's add picks and then check the numbers. We want... Oh, and weapon racks. Right, we apparently want 1 quern and 1 chain and 2 picks and 2 weapon racks. That suggests we might actually have a... Oops, that's the wrong thing. Might actually have an order for querns already. Yeah, I can't find it. 1 quern, 2 chains, 2 picks, and I don't know. We'll make it out of wood, and and 2 weapon racks. Right. Right, so now we're also going to need a lever to operate each of those, which is going to mean that we need to actually make more of those mechanisms. Which is probably going to lead to a slight delay while we get that organised. So let's go back to this construction here. So that's gone. So that this level here is now 1 Z level above the track. So then we can go... Is that what we want? No, we want to build a wall there.
Got a theory.
And we want to build a ramp there. And this is then the 2 Z levels above. So that wall will take us up to the right height. So actually that track there should be removed as well. And then we should start then we can start going back down again. I mean, actually, we're going to want some floor there anyway, aren't we, to put a ramp on? Maybe we just don't bother demolishing that track and we leave it there. Can we just construct a wall on top of it? No, a ramp on. Hang on, what? No, we want a ramp up at this level, which means we need a wall there, which means we do need to demolish it, and all these Z levels are confusing. So we're still waiting for the rollers to be constructed, possibly because someone has to find the chains. Here we come, 2 people bringing mechanisms. Our desire for more mechanisms is somewhat limited by the fact that someone actually has to schedule those jobs. Right, and now we have some jet rollers and some conglomerate rollers, which are, all being well, pointing in opposite directions. Well, I suppose we can test this a little bit then, can't we? We can't turn it off yet, but if we declare a new minecart route, that has a single stop there with the usual condition, more or less. Push off west immediately, always. And well, let's put the unnecessarily full minecart on it so that it can be emptied. Or I suppose we could use a nearby. No. Let's actually get that one emptied. Get the goblin back out of it. Then what should happen is that the minecart should go round to here and then just bounce back and forth indefinitely until we arrange a mechanism for turning the rollers back off. Which might admittedly mean that someone gets run down by a minecart while setting up the rollers. How is Bombrek Slapatic doing? So yes, he does have a torn artery in his right lower leg and the bone is smashed. He has been cleaned with soap. His right lower leg has been set and dressed, and yes, it's all looking good.
You people probably see some of you tomorrow. Not on Urk.
Right. So now we are mostly waiting, so I should pay attention to what's going on over here. Yeah, so we've got the next stage of this bit of the safety hump built. So that's the top of it. So then we need so we need a downward ramp in that square, which means we need an upward ramp in that square, which means we need, I think, a floor in that square, which means we'll need a downward ramp in that square, which means we need an upward ramp in that square, right? So we'll need a wall there. And a ramp there. It is now summer, and a bunch of people have changed occupations as they start or stop being military dwarves. The annual tribute from Keskalokil has arrived.
Sent them 3 widgets and a gadget.
Hauling 1 iron low boot and bringing a mace dwarf along for protection. I feel that bringing 1 boot is probably like not it's not much by way of tribute really. Oh, and meanwhile we should carry on dismantling. Right, we can now finish wiping out those constructions there. The old roller coaster, though we may of course reconstruct them again in a bit differently. Someone has probably lugged our... Oh no, there we are. That's the correct minecart, isn't it? Yes. Right, we have the ramp. The wall is kind of critical. Tribute is being uploaded. Uploaded? Unloaded. Copper Lances have sent us, oh no, 2 iron low boots, 5 prepared donkey spleen, 1 sheep leather backpack, 1 borax blocks, 1 kakapo leather bag, and 2 iron high boots. That's almost useful.
The boots match, gosh.
Yes.
Well, I was a bit disturbed when I saw someone turning up with 1 boot, but someone else came along with the other one.
Or possibly they were on in some way invisible to me anyway. And now the visitors leave, walking straight over the experimental, straight over the test track, which doesn't feel like the most sensible place to go. They apparently don't pay attention to my routing requirements. Right, so now in the hump we can build... I think we just need to build 1 more ramp there. I'm not going to use the borax blocks for it, that would be weird. And then we can lay a track over there, and that... Oh, we also want, obviously, a ramp to take it off there. And then we could remove that ramp to give ourselves some space. Right, and the minecart is now properly oscillating. You can watch it oscillate. There it goes, back and forth repeatedly. Notice it goes a lot slower right to left than left to right because I set the speed rather lower in one direction than the other. Right, good. Is it still full of cruft? No, it has been emptied. Excellent. And someone is indeed trying to work out where they should store the goblin. Right, let's stop watching that before it seriously upsets me. Right. It appears to vanish because of this flashing arrangement. Right, so now we need more mechanisms so we can install levers, don't we? Right, well, the make rock mechanisms task is at least scheduled. Where do rock mechanisms emerge? Right. So we just need someone to come along and actually make those rock mechanisms for us. Someone is happily scheduled to do it, but they're hauling the rocks all the way up from the mines rather than using the rocks stored next to the rock mechanisms. No, not stored next to the workshop. And not using a wheelbarrow because you only use those when you're filling up a stockpile. A vile force of darkness has arrived seeking a parley. I mean, there does actually appear to be a reasonable number of slightly well-equipped soldiers there. I mean, okay, you're wearing leather armour. You're not going to last long. Now, we've got some copper chain leggings. Those won't save your legs. And possibly some iron boots. Yeah, okay, an iron mail shirt. You might, if you've got any iron, that might keep you. You've got 2 iron mail shirts on. Well, I mean, I can see that might help. Washed Flies wishes to parley. I mean, I'm only going to approve it in order to give myself enough time to organise my military, and I feel that's kind of rude. Denied. Now, are they going to stay long enough for me to get the military organised?
You're just mobilising everybody, aquatic or not.
I think so, but then I'll keep the non-aquatic ones in reserve. I mean, I don't know how many how many goblins they've brought with them. We might dismiss them early. Oops. Yeah, we'll definitely send the aquatic ones out first. They've brought at least a couple of crossbowmen. Anyone else coming onto the map, or is that it? Because that's going to be an embarrassment for you. I really don't need to mobilise 50 dwarves, or however many I've got, to fight that size of group of goblins. That does seem to be the entire force they've brought with them. Right, well, let's release the non-aquatic dwarves then. And move the aquatic ones up to the delta. What? What? Apparently, a cat has been hit by a steel helm. Maybe the other one will explain better. No? Where did this happen? Okay, I still don't understand. Apparently, somewhere down here, someone got hit by a pair of Monera leather trousers and a steel helm. Quite a good steel helm by all accounts. And in both a cat and a surgeon got hit by the same pair of trousers and steel helm. Oh, you got into an argument. Maybe it's related to that. Maybe someone threw them at you. There is an annoyed child around somewhere, I think. Have the goblins fled yet? No. They're working their way very slowly up the riverbank, hoping that maybe something will mean that they don't have to fight. Well, we're going to wait for them in the delta. Meanwhile, we've now got all of that hump built, so now we can we engrave track in the roof of the no, it looks like we can't engrave track in a block floor. You can only engrave it in natural. Surely we can engrave it in a natural. Can we only engrave it in cavern floors? Can we engrave tracks at all? Have I accidentally scheduled engraving tracks in? Oh, do we have to smooth it first? No. And I know smoothing doesn't actually appear on the map, so maybe I've just asked to engrave some really weird tracks. No, I thought track engraving did appear on the map, because it's really hard, would be really hard to make it work otherwise. Oh well, we'll build a wooden track, and we want to build it from there onwards. That's not track. Where is it going then? Again, it doesn't seem to be being highlighted where it is. There's some track. That's better. Doesn't span 2 levels. I think it's going all the way over that hump. Yes. We don't build that end because that's already scheduled. And we don't build that end because we don't really want an end at all. Let's just test that this works. So only the Duke is now annoyed. Everyone else is quite happy with their mandate situation. Have we made any mechanisms yet? No, because someone is still lugging a bit of petrified wood all the way up from the mines. It does occur to me that because this is because there's a square in the middle, in theory the minecart might stop there if something like gets in the way. I don't know, some wildlife or something. Oh yes, we've got a goblin invasion going on, haven't we? They finally caught up with us. Well, I mean, they fired an arrow at us. We blocked it. Militia captain jumped away from it. Spear dwarf dropped it with a shield, blocked it with a shield. All is well. No one has yet fallen into the river. So our goblin crossbowman is now running towards the enemy, which is obviously a sensible thing to do if you've got a crossbow. Equipped with an iron helm and a copper mail shirt. And that's about it by way of anything worthwhile. Oh, there's shooting and is now trying to leap across the river. Whee! Has made it across the river. Oh, a dwarf has fallen in the water. Happily, the said dwarf is a skilled swimmer, so this should not be a problem. A dog has fallen in the water. That might be more of a problem. The dog has got shot and has fallen in the water. Yeah, well, we can't really train the dogs to swim, can we? Do you think if we put them in cages and send them round the swimming training route, they will learn to swim? Well, there's bits of goblin around. But the goblin has lost a hand and so is not going to be firing that crossbow anytime, or at least isn't going to be reloading that crossbow anytime soon. I mean, the dog's not drowning yet. Doesn't appear to have any swimming skill though. Okay, there's another dwarf has fallen in the river. Okay, the dwarves are now leaping across the river in order to attack the goblins, which is not entirely helpful. The first goblin is very dead. Oh, good. We have a loose goblin head we can use. The goblin's iron helm worked very briefly. Now everyone is leaping across the river. Several of them have fallen into the river in consequence, but I'm reasonably hopeful they'll be able to get themselves out again. Right, and I think that was probably the last of the goblins.
There was definitely a sort of large mob of dwarves that charged down towards where the goblins were, and then suddenly there were goblins. Yes.
Dog is still in the river, but still not drowning. So I have some optimism that the dog can get back out of the river. There do appear to be 0 dwarves in the river, which is the correct number of dwarves to have in the river. So I think they've all got out again, which is excellent and precisely how things should work. Right, well, that was a quick siege, wasn't it? An iron mail shirt turns out to work reasonably well. Iron armour is doing all right against these dwarves. But the thing is that a mace is not going to do so, not going to be stopped by your chainmail. And there are now bits of goblin all over the place. Right, let's just check that there aren't any enemies left before I turn off. Nope. Right, so we should dispose of the dead goblins in the traditional fashion. Apart from the heads, of course, which we save until they have rotted down to bare skulls and then stick on spikes, well, pedestals.
Well, you have to wait to do that. You can't do
I believe it seems to be the case. If I try to do it with freshly removed heads, no one will actually. They're not listed on the list of things you can put on a pedestal, and it's only once they've rotted down to the point where there's no longer where they appear white on the display, which I think means that where there's no flesh left, that that they actually become able to be put on pedestals.
That's strange. Perhaps the pedestal is easily corroded by things that aren't bone.
I mean, that one appears to be white, so it may be that one can already be pedestaled. Maybe that was from a previous visit. was the one I'd already done. More teeth everywhere. Oh, there's another head there that's white and thus can probably be put on a pedestal. There's another head. I'm going to need some more pedestals. So I've got some spare pedestals, haven't I? Yes. Right. So Box Ozud Strastnas has a head.
Does putting these heads on pedestals actually help to, for example, deter further goblins?
It certainly causes them to be unhappy. They do tend to be a little shocked at seeing that many dead goblins.
But they still turn up to demand some random object that you do.
Oh yeah, it doesn't appear to deter them, other than meaning that they're probably less effective in combat because they're a bit shocked by having seen all these dead goblins.
I mean, I suppose that's not nothing. You'd think they'd occasionally send a scout, and the scout would come back and go, "Oh my God, don't go there."
Maybe. We do seem to have some heads that are still red here, so maybe I can put some unrotten heads on things. Stozu Ngebzunusum. Ngom Matoksug. Yes, so maybe we can put fresh heads on there at the moment. How do you grab someone with a sword, using a sword, I wonder? Right, so now we have a track that runs all the way, well, I mean not all the way, but runs over the yes, over the apiary. Let's see what happens if we run a minecart along it.
I'm going to be supervising from 2 to 30 or something, so that is sort of it's coming back. No, someday probably we could do it in the food or the statement. We're actually going.
Someone will at some point come and push off that minecart, and I want to notice when it happens. Which I could do by watching things up here, I suppose.
The wrestler is fighting. That's their job.
Yes, well, obviously we're going to have to run it down to the river. That will be the next job. It's quite a long way. It would have to end up running over the like seaward side of the delta at the moment. Someone actually coming to do this.
I think it's actually the clips at the end might both be very pictures of objects. The video itself could be done. Of course, they're actually amazing.
Someone's coming to push one of the vehicles, but probably not the correct one. No, that's someone riding on one of the vehicles.
Yes. I'll bring my stuff. Okay. Okay. So do you want something? No, see you tomorrow. Indeed.
Why are the other ones not getting pushed, hey? Pretty sure that reaching it is not going to be difficult. Given the direction you're moving in, you're heading to ride the wrong minecart. Yes. What does the king want made now? Mail shirts, okay. Si, what's going on with these mechanisms? The person who's trying to make the mechanisms has almost he's actually in the workshop making a mechanism. Well, that's nice. I only need 6 of them. Unfortunately, they're thirsty, so they're immediately going to go away and have a drink once this is done. And they don't really know what they're doing, so they're going to take forever about doing it. Why is no one pushing this vehicle? There's no good reason not to. Aha, a human caravan has arrived. Well, they're at least not as easy to offend as the elves. Even that one contains things we might want to sell. I think we really need quivers, like, we don't do ranged weapons. One looks like we want to keep it though. Got an awful lot of empty bins. If we accidentally made far too many of them or something, we can't export crowns apparently. Those look like mostly new socks, we'll keep them. Some worn socks in there. Bring that over just in case. Well, no, we can melt large iron gauntlets eventually. Those mostly seem to be quite nice socks, we'll keep them. Sadly we aren't allowed to get rid of chains, but that has got a bunch of wax sceptres in, so we'll get that up here. Not disposing of honeycomb, that would be silly. Has it got any leather armour in it? Yes, right. Well, we'll sell that. I mean the leather armour, not anything else that's in the bin. There's mostly oh no, there is some worn clothing in that one. Well, we'll bring that up here then. That has some bill and jugs in it, which are probably full of royal jelly. That has a bunch of worn clothes. So there's that. And that. I don't think there's actually anything in there I want to sell, sorry. That has some worn clothes in it. Maybe I can separate armour by material. That might be helpful. It's got some wax craft in, so we'll bring that up. That appears to be entirely full of new socks. So many new socks. And some gloves too, but still. There are bill and jugs all over the place. That one has a wax sceptre in it, which we could at least get rid of. Not allowed to dispose of crowns. Wish we were allowed to dispose of crowns. Right, that will do for now. Right, have we got any more pedestals available? No. Right, let's make another 10 pedestals. Don't think that will conflict with anything else I'm making. Where did we find some granite? Oh, does that mean we've made a mechanisms? Yes, we managed to make some mechanisms. Right, only one, but like it's a start. So most of the bits of dead goblin, apart from the spare heads, which I still need to find homes for, have been picked up. So now let us iterate over things. We actually just mark everything here. Is there anything here I actually think is worth keeping? Really only steel is worth keeping. I think I should actually just flag everything in that square for melting. And then investigate each other square. And go, I mean, presumably things that aren't metal have not been marked for melting because they can't be, yes. Like in theory, some iron things are worth having, but like ideally we give everyone steel anyway. It's not like anything here is very good. Right, you now allow the dwarves to collect all of those bits of goblinite, most of which need to be melted down. So it's a bit late, but I would like to actually demonstrate this signalling system vaguely functioning. We are accumulating mechanisms at a slightly more sensible rate now. because I think they're being made from the right rock. Seb asks, are you allowed to export them? And I'm not quite sure what she's referring to here. Possibly the Goblinite, which, yes, I probably could export. Oh, the bins. No, bins cannot be exported because someone in authority likes bins. And when we buy leather and cloth and such like, we tend to end up with the bins it came in. And then we can't export them. Oh dear. Someone has been run down, a cat has been run down by a minecart again. Oh well, it happens. How is the production of rock mechanisms going? We've got a third one. Well, let's build the third lever then. I mean, 3 levers is a bit of an extravagance, but like essentially 2 of these levers are simulating levers we would actually have, and the third one is simulating track circuit. Well, axle counter. Meanwhile, is there still no one pushing the... Something gone weird about that minecart. It should be... Oh, it's not there. Okay. I think... Oh, right. That minecart was launched. I just wasn't paying attention at the time. There it is. Right. Well, someone will probably come back to get it in due course. So now we need 6 more mechanisms to connect all of this up. So let's make, yeah. One of these levers is red, so that should surely be the override to red lever. We just need to wait for the for enough mechanisms to be made. Possibly we need to find the person who would actually be good at making mechanisms. That will make things a bit faster. Wonder what skill you need in order to make mechanisms. Probably stone crafting. Maybe we should try to organise things so that we have better stone crafters. I think it's a stone cutting job, sadly. think that's the job we want. Oops. Let's see. Our mayor continues to be popular. Okay, don't think it's stone crafting because someone else useless has taken it up. Or at least someone who's not an expert stone crafter has taken up the job of building rock mechanisms. So that's the override to red. And that should be us linked to that. I think it's the other stony labour, the stone carving labour is, I think, already restricted, isn't it? That stone cutting. Probably that red button does something useful, but I'm not sure. Don't have many stone carvers. Where's the person who's making the rock mechanisms got to? Are they hauling an object? Yes, they're hauling a lump of gypsum all the way up from the mines, of course. Can I take them off that job and see if someone else will do it more sensibly? I mean, if we're going to do this, maybe we actually need to have a deliberate, this is where we make all the rock mechanisms place. Right, so who's now assigned to that task? You're only a novice stone carver. Why? I'm going to have to work out what it is, what the actual, is it mechanic? Do we have a mechanic skill? Or indeed activity? There is a mechanics activity. Right, let's try that one then. Okay, that button is the one that deletes a work detail. That's the one that closes that thing. So let's see who ends up doing it this time. Maybe that's the task that the labour that I want to assign. No. What even are you legendary at? You're apparently a legendary observer. How very helpful. And a legendary surgeon and gem setter. Right, I have no idea what the thing is that decides whether someone is any good at making mechanisms. Could do some trading. Don't have enough mechanisms yet. Let's see if we have anything interesting to trade then. I mean, we have a phenomenal amount of booze at the moment. Really don't need any turnip wine. Is it going to turn out they brought basically nothing we want? I mean, I suppose we can stock up on cloth if nothing else. I mean, one thing that would stop us accumulating so many bins would be if we didn't insist on buying all these things in bins. Like, we could just buy the cloth on its own. Maybe I should do that just so that we don't end up with stupid quantity, even stupider quantities of bins. It requires a lot more clicking though. No, you can't convert a bin to anything else. It's just a bin. I mean, maybe we could set fire to them or something. If we could find some magma. But it is slightly silly that we refuse to buy bins now because our mayor likes them so much. Maybe we should just fill the mayor's bedroom with bins. Maybe we could use the bins as weapons, like throw them at goblins or something. That might break them and then they would not be so valuable. Like, things for hurling objects are something else you can make out of minecarts. Should probably make sure I've got enough stuff to sell for this. So, like, given the relative positions of the two scroll bars, I think we're going to be fine. Thing is, we're selling these clothes to the humans. They're all the wrong size for humans. Maybe they're good for human children or something. Though curiously, I don't think dwarven clothing actually comes in child sizes. Right. Though I'm now slightly concerned that it's going to turn out that they've basically brought so much cloth with them and leather that I'll have more than I can ever use. Or I'll end up with more socks than I can ever use, which is admittedly the way it currently seems to be going. I suppose one possibility is we should just start decorating everything. Like, you can use up a lot more cloth like that, I expect. Maybe I should check if they've got anything else. Oh no, we don't want to sell copper and iron armour. That gets melted, especially copper. Doesn't matter how worn out it is. We'll sell a worn cedar shield though. And of course the traditional bill and jugs full of royal jelly. Quivers, we don't use quivers. Who makes a sceptre out of beeswax? Slightly worried that we may actually have water skins filled with royal jelly as well. Oh, those ones are quite valuable, aren't they? Maybe I should go to the bottom of this list and see what else they've brought. They have brought some food. We like cheese. Let's buy all their cheese because we're not exactly short of food. But on the other hand, it does seem to be going down rather than up in quantity. Oh yes, we should check on books, shouldn't we? No, bins don't float. Okay, I've spotted some cheese somewhere. Is it like way down at the bottom? We can have some parchment. Let's buy some parchment. Ah, there's the cheese. They've brought quite a lot of it. Admittedly, we have got quite a lot of bill and jugs to sell. Whether enough to actually get them into profit, I don't know. Looks like I may actually have to not buy everything I was hoping to buy. Which is at least good in that it means a lot of stuff will be being taken off my hands. Those jugs are empty, not selling them. Surely a beeswax ring is a terrible idea. Right, yes, I haven't got enough stuff. At least not currently in the trading post. I mean, possibly I should have done some small trays to cheer him up, but faff. So I should probably preferentially remove the cloth, because that's more expensive and less used. Especially plant cloth is expensive. Go on, turn green. Otherwise I'm just going to get bored and press the trade button and see what happens. Bored. Oh well, you seem to have accepted that. Right, that'll do for that. Sadly, time wasn't passing while that was happening. Didn't notice any books, did you? Just check. I think books would be somewhere down at the bottom. Yeah, I bought the parchment just in case. But other than that, it seems to be all food and cloth that they've brought. Yes, I think it is. You still need more mechanisms. Is that now connected up? It is. This will probably not be a useful lever to pull. But let's at least turn off the force to red. We still need more mechanisms to link the second one up. I should find the so it looks like people are moving the other minecart around, and I should really find them and watch when it next goes somewhere. So what's happened to the task to make a mechanism? Someone is probably assigned to it. Are they in a halfway sensible place? Well, I mean, they seem to be hauling gypsum, but they're at least hauling gypsum from somewhere reasonably nearby. Maybe. So they also appear to be stationary. Oh no, I'm not watching them. Right, that's fine. Now it's necessary to fight their way out of the dining room. Oh, I wonder if I've worked out what I just screwed up. Let's have a look. Yes, mechanics will work a lot better if I force it to only selected do this. Right. Let's try cancelling yet another task. Seeing if now it gets assigned to the right person. Don't know if this will work. In particular, of course, it will require finding... Right, we now have a Grandmaster Mechanic assigned to the job. Maybe that will go a bit faster. Stoats. Right, so now that cog has stopped running, but that hasn't actually stopped the minecart bouncing back and forth because the other side, the drive on the other side is still happening. Right, good, in a sense. You've picked up the same lump of gypsum, but like, at least you'll know what to do with it when you get it to the workshop. Also, you appear to be like quite strong, if hateful. So she should be able to... Oh, odd. Oh, right, yes. Fairly rapidly... Child fighting with the dog. Fairly rapidly turn this gypsum into a mechanism, and then we can rig up the next. Okay, apart from the fact she's still got most of the length of this corridor to walk because she keeps going diagonally. Does she think she is a bishop? I mean, like, this proof of concept is kind of pointless, but I want to prove the concept. Right, we have got the rock in place. Now we just need to mechanise it or something. We have added like over 1,000 food to our stockpile as a result of buying all that cheese. Might have been too much cheese. Right. So we've now got another mechanism, plus we're actually making mechanisms at a decent rate. So now we should be able to connect this up to, say, that. It's not really an interlocking, but what? How did I type those? I think the game may be making my ability to type quite confused. Or indeed not paying attention to the keyboard at all now. Yeah, I don't seem to be able to delete anything. Well, that escape works. I think our frame rate is getting dangerously low here. Right. And now dwarves are setting up this lever. It's still, yes, we need a second mechanism. At least there is a second mechanism. They're just standing up now, aren't they? Yes. I think we may need to cut down some more trees. Our stockpiles of wood are getting low. There's a maple. Right, and here comes someone with another mechanism to finish hooking up the, well, it was meant to say ersatz interlocking, and so somehow ended up saying ersatz pi. Right, so now if we pull that lever, that should cause the signal to clear. Whee! And then the minecart resumes its journey. Right, so kind of proof of concept, you can successfully release a minecart from this thing and it sets off on its journey again, but otherwise it stops there. So that'll do for now, and then next time we will, well, maybe try to do some more of that, but it was quite faffy. I mean, we're getting more stocks of the necessary materials, in particular the phenomenal quantity of mechanisms we're going to need. So that should make it a little easier. And yeah, we can see what we can do, but it's going to be a slow process, especially with the frame rate as it is. Still, we'll see you all again on Sunday, where we will return to this and try to get some more stuff done. I'm I'm sure I did reduce my population cap in order to make this work better, but don't know. Anyway, until then, good night.